Hello and welcome to JoyConCast episode 18. I'm your host Nicholas, and this week I am discussing The Witcher 3 and Overwatch. The ports are now available on Nintendo Switch. I've been playing them since Tuesday. I want to discuss them, give my thoughts on them, and I want that topic to segue into a much bigger discussion. With the PS5 and Xbox Scarlet set to release holiday 2020, what does that mean for the future of Nintendo Switch? We're going to be talking about that today. This week, I'm very excited to bring JoyConCast back. And yeah, before we actually get into the episode, let me talk about that. It has been about 3 months since I've uploaded a new episode of JoyConCast. And I decided to take a break. About 3 months ago. Over the course of the summer, I just decided to take a step back from YouTube and gaming, from the internet, social media, just stuff like that. I decided to take a step back. I was kind of getting stressed out and worried, and I just wasn't having the fun that I once had. So I took a break, and then including JoyConCast. I decided to take a break from it. But I'm back now, and I'm super excited. I really did love doing this show. I really love doing this show. It makes me very happy. I love talking about Nintendo and Nintendo Switch. And so I'm very happy to bring it back. There's some new design choices. Hopefully, moving forward, I'm going to figure out ways to incorporate the video more into this show. As of right now, I do plan on keeping this YouTube only. Maybe I'll figure out how to do an RSS feed and bring it to other podcast apps, platforms, and services. But as of right now, I just want to focus on uploading to YouTube. It's the easiest option for me, and that's just what I want to focus on right now. Maybe in the future, I'll bring it to other places, but as of right now, YouTube only. I also, like I said, want to incorporate more of the video aspect, so I might actually start incorporating gameplay, put, whatever I'm discussing on the screen, stuff like that, to kind of make it more lively and put some more effort into it instead of just a still image. But either way, I'm very excited, very excited to bring this show back. And enough blabbering, let's get into this week's topics. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition and Overwatch are now available on Nintendo Switch. These are pretty big games. And I was pretty shocked when I saw both of them were coming to Nintendo Switch. I believe The Witcher 3 was announced at E3, and Overwatch was announced in a recent Nintendo Direct, I'm pretty sure. And both of these games, I was kind of skeptical when it came to buying them on Switch, because I already own them on PC. And in the case of Overwatch, I've plugged like hundreds and hundreds of hours into my PC account for Overwatch. And as far as The Witcher goes, I really didn't enjoy The Witcher too much on PC. I played a little bit of it, but I've been playing it on Switch, and I can't get enough of the game on Switch. So let's start with The Witcher 3. I think this is one of the more impressive ports for Switch. Not just this week, but like in general. It's really cool having a game like The Witcher on Switch. So I want to talk about that because I've been playing the game since Tuesday, and it has been a pleasure. It's been a joy. Like I said, I was hesitant. I was skeptical. It's $60 for The Witcher 3. You do get the full game, as well as all the, I think, 16 DLCs. I'm not too sure what they are exactly. Like I said, I wasn't too into this game on PC, but you do get 16 DLC plus the 2 expansions that were paid for DLC. And it's the entirety of The Witcher. It's the entire game. It is $60, so it is significantly more than other games or other platforms. It's cheaper on PS4, Xbox, and PC. But you do get all the expansions, you do get all the DLC, and you do get a very solid port. I've been playing this game primarily on handheld. And yes, there are some compromises made here. Most definitely, there are some compromises. The game does look blurry. There are times where when entering or leaving a cutscene, you'll get a couple frame drops. Nothing to write home about. Nothing to exaggerate or anything, but in the game itself obviously is not looking as good as it did on PC or as it would on PS4 or Xbox. But if I'm being 100% honest, I've been playing this game primarily on handheld for a couple hours now. I don't know if there's a way to check your playtime in the game itself. I know I can't do it on my profile yet because it hasn't been, you have to wait a week for Switch to tell you how long you've played the game. But I've put a couple hours into the game now, primarily in handheld. And believe me, it's not bad. I don't think it's a bad way to experience the game at all. I've been really, really enjoying my time with it. And I've had this game on PC forever and never paid too much attention to it. I've never played it that much. But something about having it on Switch and being able to play in handheld mode or being able to play in tabletop mode, take the Joy-Con off, lean back, and just use the Switch as a screen. It's such a different way to experience games, and I think that's one reason why I love the Switch, and why even games like The Witcher that are almost 5 years old now, they're still fun to play on the Switch, and in some cases I might prefer them on the Switch, just because that's a different way to experience the game, and I love it, and I've been having a blast playing The Witcher, and honestly, it is a big open world game. Open world games within the past couple years have been not so kind to me. I just don't have the time to sit down and invest that much time into a single game. I like games that are 6 to maybe 12 hours at the most. A decent sized video game, but anything that has a big open world with side quests and NPCs and different areas to explore and, a ton of information that they give you throughout the game. Like, a lot of the time, I just don't end up finishing those games because they're so massive. I don't want to invest too much time into these games when I could play a ton of other games. But I might actually play this one through its entirety on Switch. I'm really having a good time with it, and I really want to see this game through until the end. So we'll have to see. It's definitely not a game I'm beating this year. There's so many other games I'm playing on Switch right now. I'll talk about that towards the end. But this is definitely a game I can see myself working on even through next year. And I love it. I'm loving the game. As far as performance, like I said, yeah, there were a couple frame drops when entering or exiting a cutscene. Nothing terrible at all, but just something to mention. As far as the frame rate, it does run at a pretty stable 30 FPS. I haven't noticed frame drops during gameplay, even when fighting enemies or, maybe there's a lot of characters on the screen or stuff like that. I'm not too far into the game, by the way, so I'm sure there are different areas or different towns I'll visit where there's a lot more NPCs, there's a lot more going on that might affect the gameplay, but as far as what I've played so far, that has not been an issue at all. Frame rate's been very stable, besides the few times that cutscenes have played. As far as how the game looks, like I also said before, it is a little blurry. It does feel like there's just a haze over the game. Very similar to other games like Doom or Wolfenstein, games like that. It just does feel a little blurry. It's not as clear or high def, but it's nothing terrible. And especially playing this game in handheld, it's not that bad. It really isn't that bad of an experience. The game still feels like The Witcher. It still feels like you're playing The Witcher, and it still looks like The Witcher. You can see hair moving as the wind blows. You can see characters, they have detail in their face. They have detail in their armor or their clothing. It still looks pretty darn good and very impressive for a handheld. And I think I said this for my Mortal Kombat 11 impressions. Like, yeah, these games don't look as good as, obviously, a console that plugs into the wall and stays powered on through an outlet all day. It's very impressive for a portable system, that's essentially a tablet. But if we ever get a Switch Pro, or if we ever get an upgrade to the Switch and its internals, and these games end up looking better, they run on a better processor, that makes me even more excited. I think a lot of the games on Switch, Doom, Wolfenstein, The Witcher, Mortal Kombat 11, a lot of these games already look pretty impressive for just being a tablet. I'm very excited for whatever the future holds for Nintendo regarding a Switch Pro. If they find a way to run off a more powerful chip, we could see these games looking much, much clearer, much cleaner, a lot more detail, not so blurry, and that makes me even more excited. Like, I already think a lot of these games look pretty good for running on a tablet. I can't even imagine what they'll look like in a couple years if we ever get a Switch Pro. With that said, obviously if you have a PC or a PS4 or an Xbox and portability is not an option for you, it's not something you want to consider, it's not something you want to do, yeah, I'd get The Witcher and most third-party games on those other platforms. For me personally, I can justify playing it on Switch or buying it on Switch. I do love, especially laying in bed, I have a tablet holder, like a gooseneck holder that I adjust to my bed. I love throwing the Switch in that, detaching the Joy-Cons, and just laying down, looking at my Switch, playing a game, and then having a movie on my TV. I love that, and to me, that's worth the convenience or the fee of buying these games. That's worth the $40, the $60, whatever, to play these games in a different way. The versatility that the Switch offers, that's why I play the games on Switch. And there are some cases where I do double dip. Like I said, Overwatch and The Witcher, I've owned on PC for years. I think it's worth double dipping. Same thing with the Doom. I've owned that on PC since it came out, played it in its entirety on PC, but I got it on Switch when it went on sale. I felt the need to double dip. Same thing with games like Rocket League. I bought that on Switch as soon as it came out. That was a day one. I'm trying to think what else. Diablo, Cuphead. I'm looking at my Switch right now. Like a ton of different games. I'm willing to double dip and buy these games again on Switch just to play them in a different way, in a different light. And I think that's a lot of fun. And I think that's one reason, or that's one thing that makes the Switch so compelling and so cool, is offering the different ways to play it. And I've really been enjoying the way I've been playing The Witcher. And who knows, maybe I'll actually end up completing the game. I'm already farther in my Switch game than I was PC, so that should tell you something. But with that said, enough about The Witcher. The game's amazing. Actually, you know what? Quick side note, before I forget, I also do want to say, because I was very impressed by this, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition for Nintendo Switch, the entire game is on the card. The entire game is on the cartridge. I buy my games digitally. The Witcher was no exception. I bought it digitally. But if you buy the game physically, the entire game is on a cartridge. Not only is that the case, but when you buy the physical game, I've seen a lot of people get like a map, stickers, a manual, like really cool physical goodies with their game, which is something you don't usually see with any games, period, especially Switch games, since a lot of the third-party ports usually come after the PS4 and Xbox launch. So we usually don't get like a lot of the, I guess, physical goodies that usually come with physical games. But CD Projekt Red really went all in with the release of The Witcher on Switch. That's one reason why I felt like I had to buy this game on Switch. I had to pick it up. I really did want to support these devs because it's a really impressive port. It's a really impressive job, and it's amazing. It's amazing, and my hat's off to CD Projekt Red, because not only did they get a big, massive game like this on Switch, but they fit it all in one cartridge, and they're treating the launch the same as they did on PS4 and Xbox, and that's incredibly impressive. So hats off to them. A company that didn't do such a great job with the physical release is Overwatch. Overwatch is now available on Nintendo Switch. It's the Overwatch Legendary Edition. You do get I believe if you did pre-order, you get a golden loot box, as well as the I think the Widowmaker Noir skin, And I also got, upon opening Overwatch and checking the hero gallery, I got a bunch of skins for pretty much every character, or almost every character. I'm not sure if that was for pre-ordering or because I linked my Blizzard account. I'm not sure what that was, but I already got a bunch of skins and a bunch of cool goodies and stuff like that for pre-ordering. But the physical game of Overwatch, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't even have a cartridge. It's just a download code. So if you plan on picking up Overwatch for, as a physical copy, as a lot of people do, I've moved away from physical media, digital all the way, but if you plan on picking it up for Switch, honestly, I don't see the point in going to GameStop or Walmart or ordering from Amazon. The physical version of the game doesn't have an actual cartridge. It's just a download code. It's just a slip of paper with a download code, which I guess makes sense. The game is an online-only game, and I think for many people, online-only games or multiplayer games in some way are just better to constantly or to always have on your Switch, always download. I understand buying single-player games, you can trade them in after you're done, but still, it's like, why even offer the physical game? It's just a plastic case. It's just plastic. It's so weird. I kind of understand releasing it physically. It looks more impressive, I think, for Blizzard as well as Nintendo. If people walk into GameStop and they see, they see Overwatch on Switch, like in a physical form, I understand that's kind of like advertising in a sense. You may not know it's on Switch if you download games or if you go on the eShop, but having an actual physical copy looks more official, it looks more impressive, and I kind of understand that. But at the same time, if you're going to offer, a physical way to get the game, this just feels like a waste of plastic and paper, and yeah. Either way, we're not here to talk about the physical release, we're here to talk about how it plays. This is also a game I've been playing on Switch since Tuesday. Not too much, not as much as The Witcher, but a little bit of time here and there. And again, this is coming from somebody who's played for the past almost 2 or 3 years. I've been playing since, 3 years now. I've been playing since 2016. And I have to say, I was a little skeptical. I was actually very skeptical, mostly because of the controls. I am a PC gamer when it comes to first-person shooters, and I was a little hesitant to try controller out with Overwatch. I've tried it before on my PC. I've plugged in an Xbox controller and gave it a shot, and it was awful. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. It was awful. However, playing it on Switch with the Joy-Cons isn't too bad, especially when you consider that I'm not going to play competitive on this thing. I'm not going to try to do anything other than just play quick games before bed. Honestly, that's, I think one of the reasons I got it is just to play a game or two before bed, or if I'm out somewhere and there's internet and I feel like playing Overwatch, I can do so even if I'm away from my PC. And yeah, $40 is a little steep, especially since the game is kind of old. Well, I wouldn't say it's old, but it is, I guess, yeah, it is still active and all that, but still, the $40 was kind of a rough price to pay. But I've been playing it, and as far as performance, it's really not that bad. The 30 FPS has been very stable, and yeah, I really wish it was 60. I think it makes sense for a game like Overwatch. Mortal Kombat 11 was able to do it, and it is really, really good. The performance, as far as how it looks visually, does take a hit, but still, the 60 is important, and I think it's the same thing for Overwatch. So, hopefully in the future, there is a patch or an update that allows us to, kind of like how Rocket League does it, they allow you to do performance mode or, I don't know what the other ones, but either you can choose performance or how it looks. And I think Overwatch should do the same thing. A performance mode where, yeah, maybe it doesn't look as good, the resolution's turned down a notch, but it can run at 60 FPS. Or you can select to run it at 30 FPS, and the resolution will look a little nicer. Maybe the frame rate will actually be a little more stable. I mean, all in all, the 30 FPS isn't awful. It's not the worst, but it is kind of important for a game like Overwatch, for a game where you have to react quickly to situations. And if you're playing on a smaller screen like I have been, and you're just playing it like quick play, just some quick games, it's really not that big of a deal. But still, it is something that I would like to see in the future, as there are people that are primarily going to be playing on Switch and might be playing docked most of the time. I hope we get an update for Overwatch in the future to increase the frame rate. I think that's the biggest thing. Other than that, like I said, same thing with The Witcher. I've been playing this primarily in handheld mode, and it doesn't look that bad. It doesn't look as blurry as some other games, but the resolution's definitely turned down a notch. But it doesn't look that bad. Like, when I booted the game up, and I first got into a game, I was actually very, very impressed. It felt really cool running Overwatch on a tablet like this, and it's very impressive. It's actually a really good port, I think. It's not as bad as I would have imagined, and I was very pleased. So I've been playing this for a couple hours now, just playing quick play, just trying to grind up, level up, and stuff. And like I said, it's not that bad. It really isn't that bad. I tried to play with motion controls. I've also been playing with just using the joystick. And so, yeah, it is a little weird for me after playing with mouse and keyboard for so long, but honestly, it's not that bad, and it's fine for playing a couple games as well. But as far as the performance, I have to say it's fine. I really don't think it's definitely not the worst looking Switch game. I have to admit, there are worse looking Switch games than Overwatch. I really don't think it looks that bad. It actually looks very impressive. I mean, it still looks like, same thing with The Witcher. Like, it looks like Overwatch. It looks fine. The one thing I will say, and this kind of is the same thing I was saying with The Witcher, is obviously if you're not playing this game in portable mode, if you're just going to be playing it at home with an internet connection, you're much better off buying it on PC or even PS4 or Xbox. And even if you plan on playing it portable, this is an online only game. You need an internet connection to play. There are like training modes and stuff like that, but I'd imagine those get boring very, 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 very quickly. There's no story mode or single player options other than the tutorial type modes. So if you're traveling, if you're on the go a lot, this kind of is in the same camp as Mortal Kombat 11, where you need an internet connection to play the game, and that kind of ruins the experience of the game playing it on portable. But still, even I'm playing this portably, or in handheld mode I should say, at home, and I've been having a treat with it, and it's fun, and it's a game that if I'm ever even just in my house, or if I just go to a family member's house or something like that, I just want to play a quick game of Overwatch, it feels cool to be able to just do that. It just feels really cool, and the novelty is still there. I've been really enjoying my time with it, and I like it. Overwatch is one of my favorite shooters. It'd be crazy not to pick it up on my favorite console, so I had to give it a shot. I had to pick it up. So, with that said, I like it. I think it's fun. You also get 3 months of Nintendo Switch Online for pre-ordering the game, so I have to redeem that code. I got something, I think, in my email, or I actually bought this game as well as The Witcher. I tried this out for the first time. I actually bought them from my phone, from like the Nintendo website, and it was actually a pretty cool experience. You basically go on the eShop on your phone, on mobile, and you can buy games through it. You can even choose to use or not to use your gold points. You can change the credit card that you used to pay. It's actually pretty cool. It's a seamless experience. I just purchased it through my phone. I was actually at work when I wanted to pre-download The Witcher. And I bought it, and then it instantly started downloading on my Switch at home. So it's pretty cool. I actually really liked that, and I'll have to try that again in the future. But yeah, you got some goodies with Overwatch for pre-ordering. But as far as the performance goes, it's not too bad. It's definitely not the worst looking Switch game. I'd actually go on record to say it looks good. It looks pretty darn good for being Overwatch on a tablet. With that said, though, The Witcher and Overwatch are pretty big games, and it's impressive to see them on Switch, on a tablet. These are older games, though. The Witcher was released in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, and Overwatch was released in 2016, and they're just now making their way on Switch. With the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet, or whatever it ends up being officially called, those are set to release holiday 2020. So Nintendo has a year, another year of dominating the sales space when it comes to consoles. They've been selling an impressive amount of Nintendo Switches, mostly because it's still a new console. It's crazy to think that next year, it'll be what, it'll be 3 years old. That's crazy to think. It'll be 3 years old. That's insane. Time flies by so quickly. It feels like just last week I went to go pick mine up on March 3rd. It really does. It feels like last week that happened. But it's already been almost 3 years. That's crazy. But with that said, obviously the PlayStation and Xbox are going to be much bigger, better, badder, scarier consoles. You know, they're going to be more impressive than the Switch. As far as what they can handle graphics-wise, performance-wise, games are obviously going to look much sharper, much cleaner. They're going to be more impressive. They're going to be bigger downloads. And Nintendo has another year where the Switch is going to sell just fine because it still feels new. The gimmick or the novelty of the Switch hasn't quite worn off. It's still a impressive way to play games. And the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are older consoles. They're getting replaced next year. So I'd imagine a lot of people are going to skip out on buying them over the next year and opt for maybe a Switch instead that has newer games, better exclusives as of right now. Even though the PlayStation is still gaining a ton of great exclusives, Death Stranding, Last of Us 2, so on and so forth. But what happens in 2020, or specifically 2021, after the new PlayStation and Xbox are out? How is Nintendo going to compete with the next generation of PlayStation and Xbox? You know, the Switch is just now getting games that we've seen on PS3, 360, PS4, Xbox One, and those games were, as much as I hate to say, as far as graphics, performance, visuals go, they're best performing on other consoles. They're best to experience on other consoles because they look better, they run better. There's no compromises made. You know, you get the entirety of the game in all of its glory. With the Switch, you're getting a delayed release, and the games don't look as good. Does The Witcher and Overwatch release it on Switch? I mean, it's impressive, and it's really cool that we're getting these games on Switch. But will Switch continue to just get PS4 and Xbox One era games? I mean, I'm worried about new generation of games. I mean, we're already seeing a ton of games over the past couple of years completely skipping out on a Switch release because it's probably just not possible. The development team doesn't have the time or patience to actually optimize it for Switch and bring it to Switch with care. And that makes me very worried to play games on Switch over the next year or two, because I do have a PS4, I do have a PC. As far as the PS5, I am going to skip out on the PS5 at launch. I'm not as into PlayStation as I am Nintendo. Nintendo consoles are consoles that I want day one. I love Nintendo more than anything, obviously. So the PlayStation 5 I'm excited for, but I'll probably just wait till the next year, holiday 2021. Hopefully it goes on sale by then it has a decent sized library. There are enough exclusives to get me interested. And throughout the course of 2021, as I wait to get a PS5, if I actually end up getting it the next year, I'll probably end up getting most of my games on PC if they're available on PC, because the Switch probably won't run them. I mean, we're already seeing games like Borderlands 3, for example, skip on Switch. Kingdom Hearts 3 skipped out on Switch. Just Devil May Cry 5. Just a bunch of like big AAA third-party games skip out on Switch, and it's exciting to see Bethesda actually support the Switch. And I will talk about actually Doom, since I think this came out a week or two ago. Doom Eternal has now been delayed until March 20th, 2020. Same day as Animal Crossing. So I'm gonna rip and tear demons and rip and tear weeds that day. That's gonna be fun. However, the Switch release of Doom Eternal is going to be pushed back even further. I'd imagine because Animal Crossing is releasing the same day. Honestly, even though they are two completely different games, I'd imagine a lot of Nintendo Switch owners are more keen on picking up Animal Crossing than Doom Eternal that day. So it's probably best that they hold off on releasing it. Also, it does give them time to polish it up, clean it up, make it better. I'm sure that's really the reason that they're waiting, but I was gonna pick this. I'm picking this game up on PC. I would have maybe given it a shot on Switch if it really stay in date, but now that it's not, I'm definitely just picking it up on PC day one. I'm also picking up Animal Crossing, so it's gonna be an expensive day. But even though there is a delay between the releases, it's a pleasure seeing Bethesda support the Switch like this. It's awesome seeing CD Projekt Red support the Switch. It's awesome seeing these third parties, even NetherRealm, bringing over Mortal Kombat 11 day one on Nintendo Switch was huge. I picked it up on Switch day one. I was excited to play it, and I have to say, it's a pretty darn impressive port. I've been really enjoying my time with it. Even Rockstar with LA Noire, Bethesda brought over Diablo, Skyrim, Doom Eternal. I mean, there's a ton of great third-party games on here that I'm glad are on here, but some of them are older, or some of them aren't day-and-date releases, and I don't know, it just really gets me worried for the Switch and its future compared to PlayStation and Xbox. And obviously, there are people who are going to buy the Switch because it suits them better. It suits their lifestyle and their play style better because they want to play portably, or they want to play in tabletop, or they want to play Zelda and they also want to play Doom. So you might as well get a Switch so you can play both. But still, as far as being, a Switch gamer, it just feels like the next year or two might be a letdown if developers aren't willing to take the time and bring their games over to Switch. Especially when we already seen it now. We're already seeing a ton of games, and we've been seeing it since 2017. A lot of game developers aren't bringing games to Switch, and I can understand it because of the inferior hardware, and that's why I feel like a Switch Pro is almost necessary. And I think that's something that we'll see, if not 2020, I think 2021. We might see a Switch Pro. With the release of the Switch Lite this year, I think maybe next year's a little too early for another hardware revision. But I think 2021, that'd be what, 1, 2, 3, 4 years after the Switch has been released. I think that's plenty amount of time for a Switch Pro or a new Nintendo Switch or something along those lines. Other consoles have followed a very, very similar release time. Usually, I think the PS4 came out, 2013? And the PS4 Pro was released 2016? I think that's 3 years. That's not bad at all. I think 3 to 4 years for a brief console revision isn't terrible. And 2021 would make sense for Nintendo to drop a Nintendo Switch Pro or a new Nintendo Switch, whatever they end up calling it, with improved chipset, better battery. I think those are the two biggest things. I think that's important. I think that's one thing Nintendo really needs to do to compete with these other consoles and to ensure that their console can get the third-party support that it deserves. As far as competing with PS5 and Xbox Scarlet at launch, I think the answer is very simple. Breath of the Wild 2. I think making that a holiday release is a no-brainer. I think it's a no-brainer to release that game. And maybe they'll do that in 2021. Release Breath of the Wild 2 alongside the Switch Pro. They did that with Breath of the Wild. They released it alongside the Switch. Link's Awakening remake was released alongside the Switch Lite. It's not crazy to think that, Breath of the Wild 2 will release alongside the new Switch, but still, I think that is a no-brainer. I think releasing a sequel to one of the best games of this generation, one of the best games on Switch, it's going to influence a lot of people to maybe skip out on PlayStation and Xbox at launch, or just gravitate their attention towards Switch. I think that's the best option for Nintendo, at least at launch. As far as after release, I don't know. And it's not necessarily competing with these companies, it's the support that I'm really, really worried about. It's the support that kind of scares me because, I don't know, I don't want to see, I guess compared to the Wii U, the Switch has been doing fantastic. Like, we would never see Overwatch on Wii U. We would never see The Witcher on Wii U. We'd never see Skyrim or Doom or Rocket League on Wii U. We'd never see Mortal Kombat on Wii U. We would never see half of these, or I'd even say like a good 90% of these third-party games we'd never see on Wii U, ever. And even when it came to the Wii U, there were so many droughts in between releases. It was crazy. The Switch has already been doing so much better. It has been, the first year of the Switch was fantastic. There was like a new game every month, and there was a lot of third party that was kind of coming to the Switch that definitely interested me, that I picked up and tried a ton of games on Switch because third party brought their games to Switch, and it continues to be a trend. I buy most of my third party games on Switch just because I liked the portability aspect. I like the versatility that the Switch offers. And as moving forward, even when the PS5 and Xbox Scarlet come out, I'm 100% down to buy most third-party games on Switch if they are done right. They're not quick cash grabs. They're not WWE looking games. If they actually take the time and the full potential, put in the full potential to make the game look as good as it can, I will buy it on Switch. I've done it time and time again. And in some cases, I might even double dip. I might still pick it up on PC, just to play on that as well. So, I don't know. I am kind of worried, but at the same time, I think Nintendo's already thought about this, and I hope they offer a more open, powerful system for developers to work with. And I guess that's always been the case for Nintendo. It's been like that forever. Nintendo's never had the greatest and latest hardware. But I think especially when it comes to the Switch, it's such a cool system to have games on that I do kind of fear missing out on a lot of great experiences on Switch because of the more intense hardware that PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet will offer. With that said, I also shouldn't complain. I do have a PC. I have a PS4 right now. I'll end up getting a PS5, I'm sure. So I'll have opportunities to play those games. I'm not worried about that at all. But I know that there are a lot of people that primarily play on Switch or only play on Switch that are going to miss out on a lot of great games this next generation. So I guess only time will tell. We will have to see what Nintendo ends up doing. I think at launch of those consoles, Breath of the Wild 2 is the best bet. And I think shortly after that, releasing a Switch Pro to compete, or even just to open up the gates for more third-party support, I think that would be the best play that Nintendo can make right now. With that all out of the way, as of right now, let's just enjoy the Switch. It's getting third-party support. Overwatch is really cool. The Witcher 3, very impressive. The Switch isn't going anywhere, and Nintendo wants this thing to be in every household. They want it to last a decade. I'm sure by now and next year, they're going to figure out what they need to do in order to ensure that third parties can and hopefully will bring their games to their platform. I'm sure they'll figure it out. I'm not worried. Nintendo will figure it out. And like I said, only time will tell. With that said, before we wrap up this week's episode of Joy-Con Cast, I want to talk about what I've been playing. Obviously, like I said, I've been playing The Witcher 3. I've been really, really enjoying it. I'm not that far into it. I wish I could see how many hours I've invested, but I've played quite a few. I've been really, really enjoying it. Obviously, Overwatch, it's going to be fun to play a game or two here or there before bed, or, just when I'm out and about, or when I'm away from my PC. It's just cool to have games like Overwatch on Switch. It's going to be very impressive. Mortal Kombat 11, I've recently gotten back into that. Been playing the Towers of Time. I really like those. I've also tried the Dragon Quest 11S demo. I need to finish up some other games, but once I do, I will get the full game because I've been liking what I've been playing with Dragon Quest. But the actual game that I've been playing, the big boy that I've been spending a lot of my time on, is Fire Emblem 3 Houses. And I do want to talk about this for the rest of this episode. I love Fire Emblem 3 Houses. This is, hands down, without a doubt, my favorite Switch game. This is my favorite game on Switch of all time, as of right now. I love it. I was very, very excited for this game whenever Nintendo talked about it in their directs or anything like that. And it was weird because I played a little bit of the 3DS Fire Emblem games, Awakening, I think, Conquest and Birthright. I played a little bit of those. I never beat them, but I played a little bit of them, and I just did not care for them. I really did not like those games. Like, I liked watching other people play those games, and I always liked the idea of building up relationships with these characters and then taking them out on the battlefield. But I usually lost interest in the story or the gameplay, or I got stuck in an area and I just didn't feel motivated enough to finish it. But with Fire Emblem 3 Houses, I am the complete opposite. I love Fire Emblem. I can't get enough of this game. It's one of those games where when I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it and I want to play. And I haven't had a game like that in a very long time, where I think about the game when I'm not playing it, and I want it. I want it in my blood. I just want to inject it in my veins. I love Fire Emblem 3 Houses. I think I'm on chapter 13 or 14, I'd have to say. So I'm a little over halfway through. I think there's 22 chapters. I'm on part 2 now, so I'd say I'm about halfway through the game. I have about 50, maybe 55 hours of playtime. And that's just me taking my time at the monastery, building up relationships with the students, doing everything that I can as far as like the side quests, gardening, fishing, cooking, stuff like that. Lots of replaying levels, because I've actually decided I played this game, or I am playing this game on hard mode, playing it classic. So I think that's, besides maddening mode, that's the hardest way to play it. And it's been pretty difficult in some areas. And for the first time playing a Fire Emblem game, I actually am trying. Like, I set the difficulty to hard. I'm playing on classic mode. I'm more invested with the students this time. And I think that's something that I didn't get with the other Fire Emblem games. I usually played it on easy with casual mode. And so if a student, or not a student, but a unit died, obviously they would come back the next battle. And I don't think I got to know those units well. I didn't build up relationships well. It didn't matter if they died because they're coming back. Whereas with Fire Emblem 3 Houses, with the way I'm playing this, decisions matter. Everything counts. There have been some units that I let die for one reason or another. Maybe it wasn't worth replaying the level to go back and save them, or there was a particular character that I let die because I just did not like them. I'll be honest, I did not like the way that they were treating me. So I was like, you know what? I'll try to save you, but if you're dying, you're dying. And I think like in chapter 7 or 8, I let a particular character go, and I was like, I'm not even worried about it. But there are definitely like a heavy cast of characters that I love, and I want to see our relationship grow, and I want to continue to support them while I train them and instruct them and teach them. And there are many cases where I've, had an opportunity to complete a stage, but a character that I really liked died in the battlefield, and I'll go back and I'll restart it. And this type of repetitive gameplay wasn't something I liked with the other Fire Emblems, but I think building up these relationships and actually getting to know these students and paying attention to whenever we talk with each other, like, it matters and it counts and it's important, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and I can't get enough of this game. I've been taking a slight break from it while I play The Witcher, but I'll get back to it probably today, honestly. I've been taking a small break from it, playing it just here or there. I'll probably be playing a lot over this weekend. But yeah, I just love this game, and it really is a ton of games kind of rolled into one. You have to manage a schedule, you have to be a teacher and teach students. Obviously, there's gameplay mechanics on the battlefield. You're actually having to think about strategies and how you're going to overcome this level. It's a ton of different games kind of rolled up into one, and there's a ton of different things to do, but it never feels overwhelming. There is a lot to do, and it does feel like a big game, but it doesn't feel like an overwhelming open world game like some open world games have felt in the past couple years. And I've really enjoyed playing through the side quests. I've really enjoyed doing some of the side activities like fishing and gardening. I've really enjoyed talking to students and instructing them and everything like that. It's just been really, really, really fun, and I've really enjoyed my time with it. This was kind of a game I had my doubts about, especially since it's a $60 game now instead of $40 like it was on the 3DS. But man, am I glad I went for it, because I'm just having an absolute blast with this. For those wondering, by the way, I went with the Black Eagles for my house. I'm not going to try to spoil anything, but I will say it is a very interesting story. Things went in a completely different direction than I thought they would, and I've been really enjoying the story and where certain characters are going. I'm not going to spoil anything. Once I beat the game, honestly, I'll probably do like a spoiler episode, or I don't know, whenever I beat the game, I probably will discuss it in a future episode and just kind of spoil it and give my complete thoughts and opinions. I know the game's been out for a while, and I guess it's quote unquote old now, but I just picked it up I don't know, maybe a week or two ago. Like I said earlier in this episode, I took a break from gaming, so I didn't pick up Fire Emblem at launch. But once I got back into gaming, I picked it up, and I've been playing it and loving it. So yeah, that's definitely my game of the year. It's definitely my favorite Switch game, and I've really been enjoying it. And I think once I'm done with the game, I might go back and do a second playthrough. I might play through the Blue Lions next, which is crazy. I've never played a game where I'm just constantly thinking about it, and not only constantly thinking about it, but wanting to play through it again as soon as I'm done. I can't remember the last time that I've felt this way about a game, but I've been really enjoying it. It's definitely my game of the year. It's definitely my favorite game on Switch. And I'd highly, highly recommend it. I can't wait to get done with it. Like I said, I'm a little over halfway through. I think I'm on chapter 14 right now. I'm pretty sure. I think 13 or 14. There's this one level, or this one stage I'm a little stuck at, but I'll get through it eventually. And that's another thing too. Like, when I was playing through the 3DS Fire Emblem games, I don't know, like, I just didn't like the idea of redoing chapters or stages if I died or lost or was defeated or lost a character. But with this game, like, I don't mind it at all. There are some stages that I'll admit I played a little sloppy, I didn't play very well, and I either lost characters that I didn't want to lose, or I was just straight up defeated. But I don't mind replaying levels at all. like, at all. I don't mind it. That's one thing I really didn't like with the other Fire Emblem games. If I was stuck or I got, defeated or whatever, I didn't want to repeat and redo the entire level. It was just boring and repetitive, but I really like it on Switch. I don't mind at all. Like, there really is more of a sense of pride and accomplishment whenever I beat a stage and I don't lose a unit. And I think it's because of listening to the relationships, or building the relationships, I should say, with these characters and listening to them. I think I don't mind actually sending them out to battle, and it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more intriguing. So that's definitely been something I've enjoyed more. I also love Divine Pulse, I'm pretty sure it's called, where you basically get a couple chances to back up. Basically, if something goes wrong that you don't like it, I think it's ZL, you press that, and you can go back in time. I think you can go all the way back to the very, very beginning. You can go back to different player phases or enemy phases. You can go back to specific points of, this character moved here, this character killed this enemy, something like that. So if something goes wrong that you don't like, you can go back in time and alter what happened. So if you moved a character maybe one space too close to an enemy and now they're in range of being attacked, you can use Divine Pulse and change that. You can make them go in a different direction, or make your unit attack a different enemy than the one you initially thought was the best bet. So I've been using that a lot too. I have no shame in using it. It makes the game a little more tolerable. And it does. I still do think out my options, and I do still think what's best to win that stage. But it is fun to be able to go back in time and change the outcome of something because it didn't go the way you thought. I do like it, and I've been using that a lot. I have no shame at all. It beats restarting the level a bunch of times. So yeah, I do enjoy that feature. But all in all, Fire Emblem Three Houses, I've been really, really enjoying. I'd highly, highly recommend it. It's so much fun. It is so much fun. And like I said, there's so much to it. It's not just a strategy game. Yeah, at its core, that's the main, feature of the game. That's the main gameplay. But there's so much more to it that I've been really enjoying. So yeah, I've been playing that game a lot, and I've been enjoying it. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. Like I said, once I beat the game, I'll probably sit down and do an actual, spoiler episode of it, or in an upcoming episode, I'll discuss it more. But obviously, I don't want to spoil anything that I've already seen, and I'm only like halfway through, so I'm not close to the close to the end. So I'm not sure how it ends or anything like that. But once I get there, I'll talk about it. That's pretty much what I've been playing, mostly Fire Emblem and now The Witcher. A little bit of Mortal Kombat 11 and Overwatch on the side. Let me know what you've been playing this week. There are a ton of games that I need to play. Oh my gosh. Like I said, I do want to pick up Dragon Quest. Once I beat Fire Emblem, I also need to beat Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I don't even know how far I am into that game. I can't imagine I got that far. I picked that up on launch, played it for a couple hours, took a break from gaming and all that. Now that I'm back to it, I do need to see that game through the end. So, just so many games I need to beat. My backlog on Switch alone is huge. So, I'm trying to work through some games, but I think that's that. So, either way, I'm pretty sure that brings us to the end of this episode. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. Of course, if you enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like on the episode, as that would be greatly appreciated. I really do enjoy doing this show. I enjoy this podcast. I do love it a lot. I love Nintendo. I love talking about Nintendo Switch. And, yeah, that's that. So, thank you again for watching. Take care. And I will see you next week. Goodbye.